Hello and welcome to another of our Paraplanner Assembly short videos, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Elaine Cruickshank. Hello Elaine.
Hi there, I'm Elaine Cruickshank and I'm Tax and Trust Manager at Aegon, and I've been with Aegon for 16 years, and my role predominantly is providing support to our internal sales team and also to the advisor and paraplanner community.
Excellent, thanks very much. And if you haven't seen our introductory video, there's a short, punchy, to the point, quick videos looking at one technical topic at a time. And today we're looking at capital losses, a bit of compliance wording there. So let's get straight into it. We're going to look at losses on bonds and unit trusts and shares. So let's start with investment bonds, and over to you, Elaine.
Okay, so we'll start first of all with losses at the end of an investment bond. So when an investment bond is cashed in or when the last life assured dies. Basically, the main point to note is that you can't offset gains you can't offset losses from one bond against gains on another bond. There's a limited form of relief available called corresponding deficiency relief, and that may be available to individuals if they owned the bond and there was a loss on the final surrender or death of the last life assured, and they were the policyholder that was liable for tax on previous excess or part surrender and assignment chargeable event gains. They still own the bond when the loss occurs, and they have income that's subject to higher rate or higher dividend rate. So fairly limited circumstances in which a policyholder can get corresponding deficiency relief.
This is one of those things where I think if you've used it before, then you know and remember it because it can be very useful. Or if you've done an exam recently, you've probably had a question about it, but not everybody knows about this one. So tell us a bit about the details and the process of claiming it.
So it's like everything else, it's always easier to talk through the process and then illustrate it with a worked example. So I'll start by going through the process, and then we'll put some figures around the process to show how it works in practice. So first of all, you would calculate the final chargeable event loss. You would then determine the gains that there were in the past on withdrawals across the policy or on part surrender and assignment events that the individual was actually taxed on in the past. And then corresponding deficiency relief would be calculated as the lower of the two amounts calculated under these two steps. And relief is then given at the difference between higher rate and basic rate to the extent that the individual has income falling in the higher rate tax bracket. So it's not available at the additional rate, it's only available at the higher rate of tax. And it's given by extending the basic rate band.
That's a good trick question about it not being available at the additional rate, isn't it? That I see people often kind of falling over on.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the process. Makes sense to me. So we've got an example here that kind of brings it to life a bit.
That's right. So we've got Mr. A who invests 500,000 in a bond in 2016, and he then withdraws 50,000 across the policy on the 1st of January 2017. He then encashes the bond in 2020 for 440,000. So what would the position be? The gain on the withdrawal is 50,000 less a year's worth of 5% tax deferred allowance. So that gives you 25,000 of a gain on the withdrawal across the policy. And then to work out the loss on the final surrender, you've got the surrender value of the bond, which is 440,000. Plus the withdrawal of 50,000, less the amount that he invested in the bond originally, which was 50,000, and plus the chargeable event gain of 25,000 on the withdrawal across the policy. So that gives you a final loss of 35,000, and deficiency relief then would be at the lower of those two amounts, so 25,000, and the relief would be given at the difference between higher and basic rate. So by extending the basic rate band, basically.
Brilliant. So that brings that to life quite clearly, which is really good. And I think it's fair to say that losses on bonds and being able to use them are far more limited and restricted to if you've got losses on a share portfolio or unit trusts. And we're going to look at capital gains tax now, and we'll start by looking at the actual process for calculating the gain.
So we'll start by talking through the process, as Richard said. So first of all, you calculate all of the gains in the year, and you add all of these together. and then you add together all of the losses that you make in the year, and you take the losses away from the gains, and that gives you your net gain or loss in the year. Then you deduct your annual exemption and any losses brought forward that you want to claim, and then that will give you your taxable gain or loss to carry forward. Now, there's one thing I should point out in this calculation. If you look at the fact that the losses in the year are offset against the gains in the year before the annual exemption. So it could mean, therefore, that you lose the full benefit of the annual exemption, which we'll go on to show in a calculation on the next slide.
There we go.
So in this scenario, John has realised gains of 20,300 and he's made losses of 12,500. So if you offset the 12,500 losses that he made in the year against his gains, that gives you a net gain of 7,800. You then take off the annual exemption of 12,300, and as you can see, he has actually wasted 4,500 of the annual exemption in the year. If he had held off actually crystallising 4,500 of losses until the next tax year, then he may well have been able to get the benefit of those losses. But obviously that's from a tax planning perspective, and investment decisions aren't always determined by tax consequences, because obviously if the shares or the units were performing badly, then there might be market reasons, financial reasons for selling those shares.
Exactly. I think it's something to be aware of. And I know when I first started out in financial services, someone drummed into me, don't let the tax tail wag the investment dog. And I've never forgotten that one. But it's certainly something to be considerate of, particularly if you may be coming up to the threshold of the end of the tax year, start of a new one. You've got to look at the situation, but that's certainly something to be aware of. And we've got a few other planning points, haven't we, as well?
That's right. So obviously with losses that are carried forward, the investor can actually choose when they want to offset them. So the losses that are carried forward can obviously be offset after the annual exemption has been deducted. So actually then you can get full use of carried forward losses as opposed to... But
there are some restrictions, aren't there, about how long you've got to claim the losses?
That's right. Effectively, you have 4 years from the end of the tax year in which the loss arises to claim those losses, and the losses have to actually be claimed by a self-assessment tax return or by writing to HMRC. And the final tax planning point is that obviously investments can be transferred on a no gain, no loss basis between spouses or between registered civil partners. So that means that actually the lower tax paying spouse could, well, actually if one spouse is paying tax at a higher rate than the other spouse, then it can make use of the lower tax paying spouses rates of tax and available allowances. But also obviously if one spouse is sat with assets at a loss and the other one has gains that they've made in the year, then it might well be worthwhile transferring the assets over so that then that spouse has the benefit of being able to offset losses made in the year against gains in their tax calculation.
Brilliant. That was great. Thanks, Elaine. So that was a quick look at losses on investment bonds and unit trusts and share portfolios. We hope you found that very useful, and we might see you on another one of our Assembly short videos. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.